All right, good morning. Welcome in. We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. And a heartbreaking and gruesome, horrific injury on Sunday to Dak Prescott, played ball at Mississippi State, Dallas Cowboys starting QB. And we thought we would get a ankle and foot specialist on to walk us through what all is going on with Dak Prescott. We welcome in Dr. Penny Lawin with Mississippi Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Center. Dr. Lawin, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, thanks for coming in today. If you would, walk our listeners through Dak Prescott's injury on Sunday.
So, yeah, he had started to collapse his ankle when he planted his foot. And, and he's scrambling, trying to change directions quickly. His foot started to pronate just a little bit, and the momentum of him going forward is kind of what allowed the force to continue to allow his ankle to start to rotate. And then add the defender coming in to tackle, it adds a little bit more force to it and allowed the rotation to complete. As you watch the video, it is gruesome to watch. I mean, I've been in practice for 21 years. I still have a hard time looking at it. But as you look at it, as his leg is elevated, then he gets caught up with the defender, and it completes the rotation, and then his ankle's the wrong way. And then he, as is typical for people who see their legs the wrong way, he goes and tries to put it back into place himself. Ooh. I know it makes me cringe just to even think about
tough.
It, right? But yeah, so, then the on-field squad comes in, the trainers and the physicians come in, and lo and behold, they find that it's an open injury. Compound fractures, open injuries, fraught with complications if they're not treated properly. Who was the man who had the 17 surgeries on his ankle?
Alex
Smith, yeah. Just came back, I think, that very night when he had this injury. So it can be devastating. Looking at the dressing that they put on him on the sidelines, though, it looks like it was a low-grade open injury. He didn't have a lot of blood kind of coming out. Usually with the high-grade injuries, you can really see a lot of flesh. Okay. So then he was taken off the field and brought to urgent surgery.
Dr. Penny Lawin with Mississippi Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Center joining us on the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, foot and ankle specialist. All right, so they took him into surgery that night.
Right.
And Blake, was it Dr. Curry? Is that right?
Gene Curry.
Yes, Dr. Gene Curry did the...
Out of Dallas.
Performed the surgery, Dr. Lawin. So describe and explain the process of the surgery that night with that.
Sure. I think it's incredible that the general orthopedic surgeon, the guy who's covering the sidelines, called it his foot and ankle partner. It kind of lends credence to the severity of this injury. With these severe injuries, you want someone who does it all day, every day, right? So that's what the surgeon who was treating him was. He was a specialized foot and ankle surgeon. But with open injuries, they're emergent. You've got to be able to wash out any debris, any contaminants from the inside the body. Our skin as a whole is protected against the interior of our body. So anything that breaches that barrier can infect. So at the time of surgery, they open it up, wash out the area where the skin was open at the time of the injury, and then goes through a series of an algorithm, if you will, to put the ankle back together again in a methodical fashion. So with severe dislocations like this, I tend to put a scope in first because the articular cartilage is a big part of the injury. The cartilage is what lines the joint, allows the joint to move freely. And if there's damage to that joint and when the ankle dislocates or comes off, it's quite a bit of shear to that cartilage. So the first thing is to assess the cartilage and to repair any damage that can be repaired. Following that, you start with the bones. The bones need to be put back together again. Presumption is with this severe an injury, he at least broke the bone on the outside of the ankle, or the fibula or the lateral malleolus. So it's important to get that bone not only out to its proper length, but proper rotation, because the ankle joint works in such a conformed manner. It is almost like a lock and a key. You can't have any toggle at all with it. If you have that toggle, it allows the ankle to feel unstable. So get the bone out to length and rotation, hold it there, and then fix the ligament portion of the injury. Tua, you were just talking about Alabama quarterbacks.
Sure.
His injury was a strictly ligamentous injury, the same area of the ankle. So likely Dak's injury included that particular ligament as well. So it likely needed to be fixed just like Tua had his fixed a long while ago. And then the other side of the ankle, the one that was hanging over his shoe, either had a fracture or a high-grade ligamentous injury that needed to be treated as well. So the recovery now is huge.
Dr. Penny Lawin with Mississippi Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Center, ankle and foot specialist, joining us on the Out of Bounds show. So let's say that the surgery was 100% successful. And how does he start rehab immediately? Today? How does yesterday? How does that look?
Well, it all depends on the severity of the injury and the components of it. But best case scenario, he only has bones and ligaments that need to be restored. So we have to wait for the wounds to heal. So if you start doing too much too quickly, you risk that open portion of the injury becoming an issue with infection. So you've got to weigh the swelling and the soft tissue envelope to recovery. You've got to allow that soft tissue envelope, the skin, the ligaments, the muscles to recover as well. So once they've undergone a series of recovery, maybe in a week or so, he'll start doing some gentle motion exercises, strengthening exercises, a part of the rehab. And I would imagine with him, a pool would be a good component of his recovery. It'll allow him to recover a little bit faster, allow those muscles to gain strength without putting a lot of tax on his ankle joint itself.
They're saying, Blake, you have a question?
Well, yeah, you can go ahead. But...
Well, they're saying 4 to 6 month recovery. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and again, I think a lot of that is cartilage injury and presumed cartilage injury. The bones, in general, tend to heal pretty quickly in young, healthy people like Dak. I would expect that by 6 weeks, he's got good bone formation across his fractures. But the ligaments and the muscles and the cartilage, they all need time to be able to heal and recover. If they're not allowed to recover, the consequences are pretty severe. A ligament you can't make any stronger than your body can make. You can add devices to help support, but you've got to have time to train the muscles to be stronger than what they were before the injury in order to help compensate for that type of an injury.
Dr. Penny Lawin, Mississippi Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Center on the Out of Bounds show. Blake, we've got a couple of minutes. You got a question?
Yeah, so, Doc, obviously that's great, and we hope that that's all that what happens. But my concern is there's so much that goes on down there. You have your Achilles. You have all these other tendons. You have nerve damage. You have just, like you said, we've seen Alex Smith, and I know it's not the same injury, but, I mean, it's taken him forever. Teddy Bridgewater had a non-contact injury down around his knee and ankle, and that took him years to get back from. So what are complications that could arise, or what could have happened to that ankle that we don't know about yet, given where the injury took place?
Blake, he's Superman. There will be none.
I know.
Dr. Lawin, go ahead.
I like your thought process, and I hope it's the same. But yeah, the cartilage, again, the cartilage damage is what's going to be the rate-limiting step for him. If you don't have it, I liken it to a Teflon-coated pan. When you have a scratch in that pan, and it's a small scratch, you can get by, and it's fine. But if you have a large ding in that pan, it's just not useful anymore. So the one thing I worry about more than anything is it's not necessarily infection, but what damage has already been done to that cartilage and how he's going to be able to recover that.
Have you heard about this process that Dr. Gene Curry uses? It supposedly uses a lot. It's supposedly the latest advancement of ankle rehabilitation and restructure build, where they use a lot more, I guess, cords or I don't know what the word is, but they stretch some stuff down there. I don't know if you've heard about it, but supposedly he specifically only works on high-level athletes. Do you see that type of injury, given the amount of care given to Dak Prescott? Is that
We've got about
good comeback injury? I mean, is there a good rate of comeback?
There is a way to come back. Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of new biologically engineered components that will help cartilage to recover, joints to recover. There are muscle strengthening techniques that can be used, and a lot of rehabilitation techniques that can be used to help.
And he'll get the best of the best.
Absolutely.
Treatment from starting Sunday all the way through. Dr. Penny Lawin, foot and ankle specialist with Mississippi Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Center. Thank you so much for coming in today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
We're live in the Bank Plus studio. You're listening to ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We'll go to New Orleans coming up next. Welcome in Mike Detillier, New Orleans Saints insider, WWL Radio, TV New Orleans.